Issue 37, Stormbringer magazine, Yltari's Guardians. This is the proper start to your Sylvaneth army. Hello and welcome to The Lucky Roll, an eclectic channel for eclectic games, and today we're going to be doing issue 37 of our continuing series of Hachette's Stormbringer magazine. Now in this issue you get 4 of Yltari's Guardians. It's an interesting issue because of course we have a story section which starts off the issue with speared with Aurelius Swiftwind's band of warriors. You have a little bit of information themselves on the Yltari's Guardians. Now these are interesting creatures because they were grown from ancient soul pods in the realm of death, and they were originally ambassadors for the Ever Queen, but since Nagash's betrayal of the Pantheon of Order, they have grown bitter and resentful and now battle against the forces of death. So if you collected the previous collection of this, which was Mortal Realms, you could use these guys, or these guys who have an extra gripe against the forces of death, the forces of Nagash. They now battle against them, seeking to extract revenge for every Sylvaneth soul lost to Nagash over the centuries, and their leader, Yltari, is a powerful Thorn Witch and uses life magic to destroy the undead and heal the realms. So an interesting little backstory to these characters. You have, of course, the usual names, traits, tactics, things like that. You have the how to build guide. Now, these are actually quite delicate, so I would be gentle in cutting them out of the sprue, as you'll see in a moment, because there's a lot of little branches and little nibbly knobbly bits that are kind of poking out, that if you don't look, measure twice and cut once, if you don't do that you might cut off a piece that you're not meant to. You have, of course, the rules, which goes into different aspects, and you have allegiance abilities. Now that our armies are starting to diversify a little bit, different units can kind of bring benefits to other factions outside of them. So you of course have different universal enhancements here, such as command traits, artifacts of power, spell lore, scripture, and triumphs. But it's an interesting kind of combo for the forces of order to kind of team up against the forces of disorder and vice versa. You have here the war scrolls, so you've got Yltari herself and her guardians. You have kind of war scroll tutorial, so just kind of going into more little bits and pieces of the rules, and you have the actual the scenario here is called Growing Darkness and Alliance Objectives. So you have the Alliance of Order and the Alliance of Destruction facing off against each other. So let's have a look at the actual models themselves. Now we'll start off with the hero of the hour, Yltari. Now as you can see, it's a very interesting kind of meld of ghost and forestry, if you know what I mean. They're kind of real in that they're branches, that you can see that they're kind of earth and roots, and they're kind of the ghostly kind of shape and feel and look of them. It's a very interesting kind of paint scheme to kind of follow up on, because you normally just kind of do white here, and I use a very thin aspect of either Tesseract Glow or Nighthawk Gloom to kind of give that tiny little shade to it. So if you're putting in a wash, just make sure you water it down a little bit. But it's handy because it would cover most of the top half of the body. It's actually quite quick to paint because the white base coat does most of it for you. After that, it's just a case of washing it. The tree stuff itself is it's interesting. It's a base of dryad bark with a little bit of layers of Gorthor brown. But also if you have a little bit of green, not Oruk green now, because if you try using Oruk green, which is a paint that comes with this series, it'll look too green. You need a kind of a forestry, Lauren Forest green or something like that to kind of give the little effect. But this is the lady herself, and she has a little bug thing as well, which keeps her company. And these would be the Guardians. Now, again, very interesting, very epic looking creatures. I mean, this guy, the armor is just kind of hardened oak and bark, and instead of kind of tabards, they have leaf kind of flowing tabard type things, and they have little creatures of the forest that would help them. Again, it's the same thing. It's a kind of you base the spirity parts white and just kind of put a little Tesseract Glow on it. I did the same thing here with the sword, and I did a bit of an experiment with Gilliman Blue, which was kind of a wash. So I just, because I wanted to have a kind of an ethereal, ghostly look, I put a little bit of wash on these, more than I would normally do so. But again, this is one of the Guardians. We have another Guardian here, so like they're fairly epic looking things. Like, I mean, I wouldn't, how do I put it? I wouldn't scrawl my initials on this particular tree if this guy was part of it, if you know what I mean. But again, same thing, it's a lot of wash. I used a kind of a Druchii Violet here on the top for that little symbol. You have another creature of the forest here keeping him company. So even though they're complex, they're actually kind of a quick little paint job. They all, of course, come with specific bases, so there's a nice little bit of work there for the base for you as well. So it kind of keeps it forestry. So I mean, I've been trying to do a lot of kind of dead space, kind of deserty terrain for my minis, but in these ones I just had to go with the actual forestry. And we have another one here which is just pretty cool, that it's a bowman. And of course here, so like when you're snipping, obviously the finger isn't part of the things that are snipping, but the branches here would be. But you can see that there's very delicate little pieces here that if you snap them off, you would ruin the mini. So I mean, here it looks class because she's literally just twanged off a bow. But if you lost the finger, it wouldn't be quite as obvious. You have a little buggy thing here as well. But again, really cool, interesting little minis. Fun to work with, fun to paint, and a lot faster than you might actually think, just because that a lot of the work is done by the wash. So if you are still kind of a newish painter, you would actually do a lot better with these minis than you would think. If it wasn't for this magazine series, I would have painted Sylvaneth series, but I have to say, now that I'm kind of tipping at them, I like it. Very interesting little minis. As always, if you like these videos, please like, subscribe, all that good YouTube stuff, and check next week for issue 38.